Hello everyone, welcome to session 17th of Statistics and Analytics Lab. Here we are going to learn few more concepts of Unit 3, that is measure of location and dispersion. In this session we are going to learn what is variance, importance of variance, advantages of variance, disadvantages of variance, difference between variance and standard deviation. Then lastly we are going to learn how we can calculate variance in Excel. First, let us see the definition of variance. Variance is simply defined as the measure of variability of values around their arithmetic mean. As the word itself says, variance. So variance gives us the measure how each value in the data set is varying from its arithmetic mean. Data set ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರುವಂತಹ values ಅವುಗಳ arithmetic mean ಇಂದ ಹೇಗೆ ವೇರಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು variance ಹೇಳ್ತದೆ. In simple terms, variance is the mean squared deviation. So we first find the deviation of each value given in the data set. Deviation ಹೇಗೆ find out ಮಾಡೋದು? We first find the mean of all the values, then we subtract each data value from the mean, which will give us the deviation. So ಇದೇ ತರ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಗೆ ನಾವು deviation find ಮಾಡಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಡಿವಿಯೇಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ಡ್ ಡಿವಿಯೇಷನ್ ಇದು ಆವರೇಜ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ದ ವೇರಿಯನ್ಸ್. ಆವರೇಜ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ದ ಆವರೇಜ್, ಮೀನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ದ ಆವರೇಜ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಡೇಟಾ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ಗಿವನ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆಟ್, ಬಟ್ ವೇರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಆವರೇಜ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ಡ್ deviations. Now let us quickly look at how we can calculate variance for a given data set. Now let me consider a data set with these values. Say these are the marks obtained by few students in any subject. Now to calculate the variance, first we need to know the mean. Mean andre ella data values and add ಮಾಡಿ dividing by the total number of values. So mean for this data set is this 34. Next, to calculate the variance, we need to calculate the deviation. Deviation andre ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಡೇಟಾ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಎಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಡೇಟಾ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಮೀನ್ ಇಂದ ಎಷ್ಟು ಡಿವಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಹೇಗೆ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು? ಈಚ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಇಂದ ಮೀನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಸಬ್ಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ 30 minus 34, that will give me -4. ಇದೇ ತರ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಇದ್ದು ಡಿವಿಯೇಷನ್ -14, ಥರ್ಡ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಇದ್ದು ಡಿವಿಯೇಷನ್ 6, ಫೋರ್ತ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಇದ್ದು ಡಿವಿಯೇಷನ್ -4, ಫಿಫ್ತ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಇದ್ದು ಡಿವಿಯೇಷನ್ 16. Then we are going to square all these deviations. Squaring the deviation, we get 16, 196, 36, 16 and 256. Then we find the average of all these square deviation. Della add ಮಾಡಿ ಪುನಃ dividing by the number of values, we get this 104. 104 is a variance for this set of data. ಈ data variance ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತದೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, if the variance is very large, then the data values are spread far away from the mean. If this variance is small, then the data values in the given set are closer to the mean. Then the importance of variance. ಯಾಕೆ variance ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕಲಿಯೋದು important? Variance analysis helps the management to understand the present costs and then to control the future costs. So, ಈಗ variance analysis ಮಾಡುವಾಗ it should be always calculated by taking the planned budget amount and subtracting actual or forecasted value from it. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ಸಪೋಸ್ ನಾವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಂಪನಿ ರನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವ. ಕಂಪನಿ ರನ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ the managing finance is very important. We need to plan the budget first. The company will be spending money on the materials, will be spending money on the labor costs and lot many things. So first what we should do is we need to plan the budget. But actual agi maduvanta actual expenditures occurred may differ from the planned budget. So ಏನು difference ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ನಾವು ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಹಾಕಿಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. ನಾವೇನು ನಿಜವಾಗಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಂಡಿಚರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಏನು ಬಜೆಟ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅದರ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಹಾಕಿ if we calculate the variance of that data set, then it will give you some idea about how your company profit is actually, or the expenditures are actually going. If you calculate the mean of all those data set, all those data values, you will get the expected expenditure. ಇಷ್ಟು ನೀವು expenditure ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಇದನ್ನ ಇಷ್ಟು ಮನಿ ನೀವು ಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಅದು ನಮಗೆ ಮೀನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಡೇಟಾ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ಇಂದ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ. But the variance that we have calculated for this data set, if it is more, if it is large, then as I said, the data values in your data set are far away from the mean. That means the expenditures occurred in your company are more, very, very much more than the actual planned cost. So what we should do, it will give you a clear idea about how you should plan your cost for the future. So variance ಅನ್ನು ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಂಡಿಚರ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ನೀವು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಂಡಿಚರ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. Then positive number is a favorable one and the negative number is unfavorable. As I said, while calculating the difference of the budgeted amount and the actual expenditures, what is occurred. ನಾವೇನು ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಆಕ್ಚುಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಂಡಿಚರ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಆಗಿದೆ ಅವುಗಳ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಏನರ್ಥ, ನಾವು ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಖರ್ಚು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. ಸೊ that is definitely a unfavorable situation. Then the variance helps risk analysts to determine the measure of uncertainty which without variance and standard deviation is difficult to quantify. Andre variance ಮತ್ತೆ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಡಿವಿಯೇಷನ್ ಈ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ರಿಸ್ಕ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಏನಿದೆ ಅಥವಾ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಸ್ಟೆಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಥವಾ ಅನ್ಸರ್ಟಿನಿಟಿ ಅನ್ನೋದೇನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಬೈ ಲುಕಿಂಗ್ ಎಟ್ ದ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಆಫ್ ದ ವೇರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಸೇ whether the market is going well, whether the prices are rising up or falling down. So you will get the clear idea about this using variance. Advantages of variance. The biggest advantage of using variance is to gain detailed information about the data set. Now, ಈಗ range calculate ಮಾಡುವಾಗ we consider only the maximum value and the minimum value. But while calculating variance, we consider the whole data set. Hence, it gives you complete information about the whole data set. Variance also helps you in drawing a quick inference about the research plan. As I said earlier, but just by looking at the variance, you can say how well a company is going in its profit, whether it is going well or the profit of the company is fluctuating in much difference. So we can have a quick inference by looking at the variance. Also, variance helps us in finding the distance of each value of the data set from its mean without plotting a graph. Now, illadre prati value the distance nodbekidre mean in ಎಷ್ಟು distance ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ we need to plot a graph. But if we have the variance, we can easily calculate standard deviation from variance, which will give you the distance of each variable data value, average distance of each variable from the mean. Also, variance allows to make important estimations with a relatively quick calculation that does a good enough job of providing information about the range of the sample. So variance also provides you information about the range of the sample. Then Variance treats all the numbers in the data set regardless of whether they are positive or negative, which is another advantage of using variance. And these advantages of variance. If you have large values in your data set, in that case, the variance that you have calculated may not give you a perfect, accurate value, because when there are larger numbers in your data set, the deviations will be more from the mean. And when you square it, large, again, the significant, again, a significant weight will be associated with that value, which will definitely lead to some kind of inaccuracy in the value of the variance. Then variance are usually huge numbers compared to standard deviation, and they are likely to skew towards the higher numbers. Variance is sometimes difficult to interpret. As I said, if there are large values in your data set, the values what we get for variance, it may not be accurate enough. Hence, the interpretation given by that variance, it may not be close to the actual real situation. Next comes the difference between variance and standard deviation. Variance andre, it is a statistical measure of how far the numbers are spread in a data set from their average. Average ಇಂದ ಎಷ್ಟು ದೂರದವರೆಗೆ data values spread ಆಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದರ measure ಅನ್ನು variance ಕೊಡ್ತದೆ. Standard deviation is a measure of dispersion of values in the given data set relative to their mean. Mean ಇಂದ ಹೇಗೆ ಡಿಸ್ಪರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಡೇಟಾ ಸೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿರೋ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಮೆಜರ್ ಅನ್ನು ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಡಿವಿಯೇಷನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತದೆ. Then variance helps to determine the size of the data spread. Standard deviation gives us the average distance of each value from the mean. Variance is calculated by taking the average of square deviation of each value in the data set from the mean. Standard deviation is calculated by taking the square root of the variance. So this is a formula to calculate the variance. Here M stands for the mean and X stands for the each data value. So you find the deviation, you find the difference between each value in the data set and the mean. Then you square the deviation. Then you sum all these deviations of all the data values in the data set. Then you divide everything by the total number of values in the data set, which will give you the variance. ಅದೇ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಡಿವಿಯೇಷನ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ನೀವೇನು ವೇರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀರಿ ಅದರ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ರೂಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಡಿವಿಯೇಷನ್ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ. Variance is one of the key aspects of asset allocation in investing portfolios. ಈಗ ನೀವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಂಪನಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ we need to first analyze the profit of the company, or we need to analyze whether the share price is increasing or falling down. So ಆ ಐಡಿಯಾವನ್ನು ನಮಗೆ ವೇರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ನಮಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತದೆ. ವೇರಿಯನ್ಸ್, so using that we can probably decide where we can invest our assets, whether the investment what we are going to do will give us proper benefits. That we can decide using variance. Standard deviation can be used as the measure of market and security volatility in finance. ಈಗ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗ ನಾವು ಯಾವ್ದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರುವಾಗ, ನಮ್ಮ ಅಸೆಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರುವಾಗ ಅದರಿಂದ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಡಿವಿಯೇಷನ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ, ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಡಿವಿಯೇಷನ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. So next comes how we can calculate variance in Excel. So ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು first? We should tabulate the data. Then Excel has an inbuilt formula to calculate the variance, that is equal to type ಮಾಡಿ variance ಅಂತ type ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ we will get the inbuilt formula where we are going to select, then we are going to select the range of which we are going to calculate the variance, then press enter. It will give us the value of the variance. Now let us quickly look at how we can calculate the variance of the given data set. So this is the data set I have considered. I have considered the monthly profit of a company in crores for 12 months. So this is the profit of the company. How I can calculate the variance for this? What I'm going to do is just press type equal, then type variance. We'll get list of formulas. And this is the formula VAR. Click on it, double click on it. Then you just select the range of which you're going to calculate the variance. Then type the closing bracket, then press enter. This will give you the variance of the profit of this company. So this is how you calculate the variance.